going on? We back, baby. Another edition of the Vault Recap 2024 edition. We just wrapped up in West Palm Beach. This is my second year going. And if you saw my recap of last year, I talked about the 6 things that I've learned of the Vault 2023. This is the new 2024 edition. This year they had the main man himself, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. He came in as a special guest speaker. They brought in this AI dude, Max Tegmark. They were supposed to have Nick Saban. I'm not sure what happened to Coach Saban, but he couldn't make it. It was all good because we still had BizDoc, we still had Will Guidara, and of course the man himself, Patrick Bet David. PBD was there. But dude, we got some swag. They gave us this this bag here with some goodies. And if you were a CEO, you got a CEO ticket, you got it, man. They gave us, I don't even know, some earbuds and some, so whatever this is. And I think we got some soap. So I'm not sure what this is, but it smells pretty good. I think this is actually the Rock's branded material. But man, enough about that. I really just want to share some value of the differences between 2023 and 2024. Just right off the bat, last year, if you were there and if you attended any PBD function in the past, you know there's this crazy situation with bathroom breaks. He does not like anybody dipping out to use the bathroom. I think it gets some kind of out of kilter. He's not focused. But this year, fully lax on the bathroom situation. So if you need to go and do what you need to do, it was all good. But this year, as I mentioned, man, it's our second year. We brought 4 people last year. Got so much value out of it. This year coming in, we actually made major decisions a year ago. We bought the CEO tickets, 2 of them, myself, and I brought my president of my roofing division, Wes. He rolled in the CEO section with me, and we had 20 other tickets that we had people from all within the organization, from ops to sales to support staff, and we had a few of our our vendor friends as well who were able to make it. But man, some other things that were different from this year, just right off the bat, there was like no gotcha questions. Last year, I shared this at the very end of my video. He kind of had everyone stand up if you've been to a Taylor Swift concert, and I raised my hand because I actually went to one with my daughters. He didn't do any of that. If you've been to his SLS conference this past May at Mar-a-Lago that we went to, he kind of did a gotcha question. He said, man, if you're like a 10 out of 10 sales rep, stand up. A few people kind of stood up, raised a hand, and PBD kind of slammed him, man, if you're a 10 out of 10 sales, why are you even here? So none of that this year, man. He just kind of got right to business. But really kind of kicking things off, we had a CEO session, 500 plus other CEOs. That room was packed with people doing billions of dollars a year to 100 million to, you know what, you name it. But the other things, really, that I want to kind of talk about was, my goals coming into this thing. The reason why we ran with so many people this year is because I have this belief that you got to bring as many people to these conferences, really just to kind of level up our personal game. We even got recognition there as being one of the top organizations. We got at the very end, I think we had the 8th or 9th most amount of people there. So that was cool to get a little bit of a spotlight for that. But man, let me just kind of break down the 6 things that I really want to kind of hone in on. So first day in the CEO breakout, Pat went through what he called integrated businesses. There was a slide that he put up on the screen, and he was saying, man, if you look at what Lions Holding is, which is the holding company that everything falls under, from Valuetainment to the Vault Conference to PBD Podcast to Bet David Consulting to Connect, he said, with the wealth that he has right now, when people come to him, which they do all the time, with a business opportunity or whatever, if it's not integrated, if it doesn't fit in with what he's doing with all of those companies, then he's going to say no. It could be a real estate investment opportunity that could make him $1 billion. He's going to say no. If it's not integrated into how everything flows, then it's a no for him. And that really kind of resonated with me because the way my company is structured within DeVore Capital Group, we operate the same way. We're multi-service. We have some services in construction and real estate and development. We do marketing. We do media. I do executive business CEO coaching, all types of things. And if it's not integrated with one another, then it doesn't fit in with our model, and we're not going to do it. So just to kind of hear his brain and how he processes that, really kind of, I got my value that very first CEO session, even before the conference work. But the main thing behind that is the question he asked: what is the engine? What is the engine driving it? The engine obviously is you, but kind of before we get to that level, the engine, like for the way everything flows within his company, Valuetainment is a brand that kind of everyone knows. He has his podcast, PBD Podcast. Those things kind of drive services and opportunities to the other services. And so PBD said, man, if you aren't the engine, you need to find the engine. He kind of gave the example of UFC where Dana White, he's not even the majority owner of UFC. He's actually just a 10% owner, but he's the engine behind it. He is the one driving it. So if you are the CEO, the founder of your business, but you are not the engine, you need to go find the engine. You need to go find a Dana White. So that was the first main point. The second one that I want to kind of really cover was a slide on capacity. Now, PBD, he went over it last year, and it's a very interesting thing. I didn't bring it up in my review last year, but really what capacity is he kind of gives some examples. Everybody has capacity to be an underachiever, an achiever, and an overachiever. And everyone's capacity level is different. So a very easy way to think about it is think of Muggsy Bogues if you're a basketball guy. Muggsy Bogues was only 5'6", and then Shaquille O'Neal is 7'2". So Shaquille O'Neal, 7'2", he was one of the most dominant forces in NBA history. His capacity at 7'2", just a big guy, but super athletic, versus Muggsy Bogues, 5'6", whatever his height was. The capacity for Shaquille O'Neal is so much greater than Muggsy Bogues. But if you actually compare them like head to head, Muggsy Bogues was not just an underachiever, he wasn't just an achiever, he was an overachiever. To be at his size, to actually have done what he's done, to make it to the NBA, to be a starter, to make the impact, the defensive force that he was, he's the best on-ball defender in the history of the NBA, 100% overachiever. But his capacity compared to Shaq doesn't even compare. Where you take Shaquille O'Neal, I don't know how many MVPs he won. He's won 4 championships. He could have been the most dominant player ever in the history of the game. Kobe Bryant on video, actually he was interviewed and asked this by PBD himself, said if Shaq actually lived up to his potential, to his full capacity, he would have won 11 championships. So Shaq, even though he has all the accolades, he's actually an achiever, or maybe even a stretch, he's an underachiever for how much capacity he had to be successful. But man, I want to get into the speakers. As I mentioned, we had The Rock. The Rock, I think it was the first business conference that he ever spoke at. Some of the main things that really was what I was kind of examining him, and I thought he was being a little too cautious. Like the first questions that PBD was asking him, kind of on the political side and everything, and The Rock just really wasn't giving like definitive answers. Kind of surprising. But man, he actually then got into the story about his dad. And I'm not going to tell a story. He's probably shared it in other places, but it really wasn't until after that story is when The Rock kind of opened up. I wouldn't say he got too deep into the answers, but I was actually extremely touched by that. But then he shared about Vince McMahon, where so The Rock, he was becoming like the major talent, and before him it was Stone Cold Steve Austin in the late 90s, and he was negotiating his contract. And basically Rock represented himself. He didn't hire an agent, and he wanted to know how much Stone Cold was making, like what his minimum base was. It was like $1 million, and The Rock said, you know what, I want a minimum base of $2 million, which was twice as much as like Stone Cold. I remember Stone Cold being the man back then. And Vince McMahon told The Rock, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to Dwayne Johnson. He said, you know what, before you 100% settle on that, I actually am giving you the opportunity. I want you to hang out with more or less the CFO of WWE, and I want you to kind of really get a good look at the behind the scenes, the operations, and the numbers. He told him, come back in 4 months or whatever it was, really know the numbers, really know the business, know how the business runs. We know everyone that needs to get paid, all the overhead, what the burden is, what the venues, the marketing, the advertising, you name it. And I tell you what, The Rock said he didn't need 4 months. I think he spent maybe 2 weeks with that CFO. And he came back to Vince McMahon. He said, man, I get it. I know you're not just making all this money and like putting it into your treasure chest that you're burying in your basement. This is a business and it costs money. And he said, hey, I'll take the same thing that Stone Cold Steve Austin has taken. And that was like the minimum base, but then he kind of got like the upside for how big it grew and what the gate numbers were and all that. He ended up making like $15 million, which was insane. But when I processed that, I have a sales-based company within my construction services, and a lot of times people think of, oh, there's just so much money, so much meat on the bone, and you guys are making all this money, and that is the furthest thing from the truth. It takes a lot of money to run a business, from taxes to insurance to support staff to rent to vehicles to maintenance to advertising to marketing. There is so much money that goes into running a business. And if you aren't spending that much money, probably you're running extremely thin and you're not optimal, or you're just not going to grow, or you have too many blind spots, and you're going to put yourself in a position that something terribly bad could happen to your business. So I got a lot from that. The second thing that I got from The Rock was, he said, man, be your authentic self. They were trying to make him a certain way, and it just wasn't resonating with him. Like, they wanted him to be a smiley guy even when he lost or whatever, and he just wasn't being his true self. And that has reflected when he said that, because I was doing a debrief with a guy pretty late night after one of the sessions, and I kind of remembered saying to myself, I want to do this, but I want to do it in my own way. I want to do this and have this success, but I want to do it in my own way. And that kind of related to what The Rock said about your authentic self. And just to kind of explain it, you're like, I know my personality. I'm not the biggest rah-rah guy. I'm a pretty chill dude, but I'm unassumingly wanted to crush and destroy everybody in business. That's just the way I roll. But I'm not just going to be up in your face or whatever. I'm trying to do it in the way that being my true authentic self. So when The Rock said that, man, that was powerful. The next guy, Max Tegmark, he was the AI guy. So the AI dude, that was it was a good presentation, but just really quick, some things from his speech. He said he just left a business conference, like at one of the largest AI conferences in the world, and some billionaire who's like top 10 in the U.S. and net worth has this plan of like buying 3 billion robots. I don't know if it's for nefarious reasons, but who needs 3 billion robots? And kind of the reason why he mentioned that was talking about how there should be regulation similar to like the FDA is for food and drug. There should be regulation created for AI so people aren't using it and trying to truly take over the world. So that was one thing. And then just how it impacts AI impacting small and medium businesses today is kind of the obvious stuff that we know. Is to enhance productivity and to amplify, and not replace. So don't think of AI as, if you got a staff of 50 people, you're going to replace 45 of them. It's not that. It's to amplify the resources that you have. And then the last thing on Max Tegmark himself, which I believe is a blue ocean. Not even blue ocean. It's just kind of the future is the next evolution after AI is superintelligence. And what superintelligence is when AI does all the human cognitive task. That's where the next level of intelligence, superintelligence, can come in and enhance. And there's probably trillions of dollars that can be created. So the people who are the quickest to get to that level are going to be the ones probably ruling the world at that point. Then there was BizDoc. BizDoc did his pitch deck exercise. Got so many notes from that because my plan is to scale my business to 100 million plus and exit by the end of the decade. So just kind of hearing his process, going through his slides on that was awesome. But man, the guy who I really, really want to talk about, Will Guidara. Will Guidara was there last year. He came as a speaker. It was kind of really him kind of being around the valuetainment brand, and it was because he wrote a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. Dude, Will Guidara, from everyone I spoke with, was everyone's favorite speaker. Will Guidara, just some things that really resonate with me. And the first is you want to turn everything into a game. So his story real quick, he had a restaurant in New York City, 11 Madison Place or whatever, something like that. He took it from not being a Michelin star to like 3 Michelin stars, then to the #1 restaurant in the world. The #1 in the world. Phenomenal feat that he accomplished. But part of his mindset was he turned everything into a game. He gamified everything. So he made business fun. He made, like whatever your deliverables are or whatever processes that you have, he actually found ways to gamify it. And when you gamify, you actually try to get better. You try to get a higher score the next time, the next day. And that was a mindset that he had that actually created this kind of continuous improvement loop that they just kept getting better and better, serving their customers, serving their staff every single day. Really, the next big thing that just resonated, and I'm going to say things resonated all the time throughout this video, was he said he has 2 jobs. 2 jobs. So, okay, #1 restaurant ever in the world, and he's in the valuetainment brand, and he's talked about as being like the master customer service guy, which I believe, but he is so much more than that. He is an elite operator. He's probably one of the greatest operators in the world today. Operations is like people undersell how great of an operator he is. But he says he has 2 jobs. One is to tell people where we're going. It's to sell the vision. To sell the vision every single day. So every day they do like their pre-meal meeting, get the staff together, before the customers start coming in. Every day he's casting a vision. This is where we're going. We're going to be the #1 restaurant. Yada yada yada. Kind of getting everybody to understand the big vision for the buy-in. And the second thing is, equally as important, is to invite people to the table. So it's not just him coming up with the ideas like, hey, this is what we're going to do. He's bringing the key people. Sometimes it's just the key people. Sometimes it's a little bit broader. Sometimes there's meetings where it's everybody. But bringing the people to the table to get their buy-in, to let them know, hey, you're in this vision together. It's not just my vision. It's your vision. It's our vision. A couple other things to acknowledge everyone every day. I got to work on that, man. I'm a pretty low-key guy. I just need to say what's up, hello to everybody every single day. I've been knowing that my whole entire professional life. And the last thing is, he says, your competitive advantage is hospitality. You may have heard that, and that may not have been this epiphany, but let me kind of go in a little bit more depth of that. There's always going to be companies that will have a better product than you, that will be cheaper than you. There's going to be someone who's going to be smarter than you. But what they can never have is the competitive advantage of you is the hospitality that you serve people. So yes, there are people where you can go and get a better whatever it is. They may be more intelligent than you, but if your hospitality, the way that you treat them, no one can ever outdo and be you when it comes to that. Phenomenal, powerful. All right, let's get into the next section. I'm on #4. I don't know if I kind of got off kilter, but it's know your formulas and know your numbers. Know your formulas and know your numbers. Pat said, if you don't have numbers, then you're not a CEO. If you don't have numbers, then you're not a CEO. What does that mean? You need the data. You need to discuss the data. So what are your KPIs? Everyone knows KPIs, key performance indicators. You need to know, hey, what does our sales need to be? Where do we need to be as far as the speed and timing of delivering the service? And it's numbers and data from many, many different time frames. Year over year, what you did last week versus this week, month over month. You need to know your numbers if you're CEO. What gets measured gets managed. And also what's get measured, get done. So if you know your numbers, you can measure and you can track, and then you can actually talk to people. Hey, this is where we are. You can give better feedback to people on where we need to improve, where we're going. Hey, sales are down. This is where we need to be. This is, why we need to be here is because we're staffed to this level because we're expecting to be at X, but now we're X minus, whatever it is. You need to know your numbers. They talked about the RFM model a lot. It's a newer concept, I believe, at least a lot of people there, where RFM stands for recency, frequency, and monetary. So recency means the last time they bought with you. Frequency is how many times they bought with you, and monetary is how much money they spent with you. So think about your customers. So many ways to slice up this data is, hey, when was customer Johnny? When was the last time he bought? Oh, well, how many times has Johnny bought with us and how much? And you're kind of looking at the numbers so hey, man, we got to go talk to customer Johnny. It's been 6 months. And usually he was buying like every month. He was buying our product or service. Having those numbers lets you know, it's like a cheat code. Like, hey, man, we need to talk to this guy. We don't want him to fall off, man. We worked so hard to get that customer, and if he drops, man, it costs it costs like 10 times more to go and acquire a new customer than to keep an existing customer, to have them to do more business with you. Man, they went through that. It was awesome. The next topic was on Goliath. So Pat wrote a book called Choose Your Enemies Wisely. It's over on my bookcase, but he talks a lot about Goliath. Now, this is for people who are trying to build something great, trying to build something legendary, trying to build a legacy to impact themselves, their community, their families. And Goliath is like the who everyone knows. That could be a $1 billion company or whatever it is in your industry. You got to know who your Goliath is. And he talks about how to beat Goliath is to know your weaknesses and know Goliath's weaknesses. This actually translates into another book that is talked about all the time called Blue Ocean Strategy. If Goliath is in here and you guys do kind of similar services or provide a similar product, is to look at where is the opportunity somewhere else? Where is that blue ocean? Excuse me. Where's that blue ocean where the opportunity may be for you to kind of pivot from, everyone's doing it this way. This is where, all the attention is. Is there an opportunity here? Is there an opportunity there? Or do we need to offer a different type of product or service or whatever? Is to kind of understand that. And once you know that, I think the last thing that kind of threw people off is even though you want to know those things, is you also you want them to kind of know you're around, but you don't want them to know that so much where they will try to pitch you in a bad situation where they might legislate you or they might legally come after you to kind of have you exhaust all your resources where you end up not being able to continue in business. Obviously, you want to be there. So you got to know kind of the ebb and flow of how you need to react and how you need to keep that relationship with Goliath. And the last thing is, don't ever let Goliath know your next move. If there is a blue ocean that you're going in, that you see this opportunity to really make a lot of sales and revenue, don't let Goliath know what that next move is. Keep that to yourself and just go and kind of execute, and then you'll catch them off guard. And then one day you're going to slay Goliath. You're going to be David slaying Goliath out there. All right, I want to wrap up with this. These are my personal reflections. So the first day at the CEO session, again, 500 CEOs. The first night we get in there, and Pat is really kind of getting everybody to, kind of like speak to him. He didn't want to just be up there delivering a lecture. He wanted to hear from the people there. He wanted to know what issues are going on to help process things, to help benefit everybody. Man, did that. It was great. But there was the thing that Pat said kind of about halfway through it. And he was talking about early on, again, this is obviously not a recent thing because, where he's at. But I think maybe a dozen years ago, he was at a place, I think he just recently launched PHP, was getting some one step forward, two steps back type of thing, and he was doing some reflection. He said he was talking to the most important person, Patrick Bet-David. He was talking to himself. He was having his self-talk, reflecting in the mirror, and he was second guessing himself. And something happened where he looked at himself and he said, "I chose this life. This is the life I chose." So when he did that, something changed in his brain where he did not have, and he could never fail. He chose the life that he did to set himself out there with his affirmations. He's going to do this. He's going to take over the world. Everyone's going to know my last name. But dude, man, that resonated with me so much because I reflect on that the same way. I built a company with my name, DeVore Capital. I chose a life 9 years ago where I was in corporate America, 15 years, having all the success that comes with it. I was living in LA, but I chose the life of being an entrepreneur, to quit my job, to go all in with really nothing, to want to pursue this crazy path of building a company to make an impact for me and for my family and for my legacy. This is the life that I chose. Man, that stuck with me so much. The next thing on a personal reflection kind of theme is to prepare. All right, obviously that's as simple as it gets, but I'm kind of relating it to speaking. I had a guest on my podcast a few months back, and he's been dropping knowledge. And he said the most valuable skill is speaking. Dude, that is the thing I've been working on overcoming my entire life. Not natural born at it, but man, I've been improving it. But I know when I solve this, as I'm continuing to improve and get better, there is millions, hundreds of millions, probably even billions of dollars of potential out there if I get my speaking to where it needs to be, sharing knowledge and coaching people, mentoring them, knowing their failures, knowing where they need the improvement. And if I can share that message and get better at that message and then getting out there, I know there's untapped potential of the earnings I can have. And I've been doing a lot of speaking. I've been doing it internally. I've been doing it externally. And when I prepare, I am so much better. You know, it's not like when I was in college, man. I was the worst procrastinator ever. I'd be writing my thesis in like one night that needed to be like 150 pages. It doesn't work when it comes to this. This is real life. This is like my future and my legacy that's on the line. And I need to invest in myself with preparation, preparing, giving it my best, giving it the time it needs to prepare my talks, to prepare my mindset, to be ready to deliver on any type of platform I'm speaking, whether it's doing this video, whether it's me speaking to my team, whether it's me speaking outside my own organization, or me going to a major conference speaking in front of thousands. The preparation is where the money will be made. The next point is to be a little bit of a jerk. And this is me. This may not be for everybody. I'm a pretty nice guy. I think people would say I'm probably too nice. There's a difference between nice and kind. And what I need to do is, because I really care about people and their feelings and all that, not that I am going to stop caring about people and their feelings, but I need to know, hey, if I need to deliver a message to somebody that they need to hear, and if it's going to come off a little jerky, I need to kind of get over that and just deliver the message. Pat didn't say it this year. I got this last year at last year's vault. One of the most powerful phrases you can say to somebody is, do I have permission to be direct with you? Do I have permission to be direct with you? If you need to give them counsel, advice that they need to hear, and it might, come across as like a little abrasive or whatever, learn those phrases. But for me and for the mission that I'm on, that I'm taking my company on, that I'm taking my team on, I'm going to have to be a little bit of a jerk sometimes. It might come off across that way, but it's out of love. It's because I believe in the person. I know the potential, the capacity that they have. If they need to hear something direct, then they need to hear it direct, and that message has to be delivered. It kind of relates to like the last thing I'll share is during the conference, as we're kind of getting to the end, it was like 20 minutes before the next official break, and a bunch of people were like kind of getting up out of their seats and like dipping out, going to the bathroom. And then with more and more people, and I already mentioned how Pat does not like the bathroom break situation. He don't like people getting up. And now when there's hundreds of people now getting up, it gets pretty disturbing. And Pat was getting really frustrated, and he actually called the people out. He said, listen, he's calling out the people who were like now getting up following us. He's like, don't be the follower and follow the people out. You need to wait. If you can't wait 20 more minutes or 10 more minutes before the break, you might hear something that you need, because usually you're like in Q&A time where people are asking questions and people think, well, Pat's not delivering like a topical thing. Maybe there's no value in it. There might be someone coming up asking a question that you needed to hear, because it might be the question that you have that you need to know, the right answer or just some information to help you to process that. So when he kind of really got on people about it, I was like, man, that's pretty direct. That's pretty hardcore. And we were kind of chatting about it afterwards, just with my team. And here's kind of how I processed it: is Pat may have seemed to be a little direct in that, but I guarantee you, the majority of those people have never heard someone who actually would speak out on this, in that way. And it's probably what they needed to hear. Like, you're there at this conference, those tickets cost a lot of money, hundreds, thousands of dollars to be sitting in those seats to attend this conference. And the presumption is you're there because you want to change your life. You're there because you're trying to learn, you're trying to get to the next level. You're there because you're at X and you're trying to get to X times 10, whatever it is. And you're not going to get there if you're not willing to sit in the seats, absorb the information, internalize it, and then go out and apply it. And if you're getting up and you're leaving early, you're not taking it serious, maybe that's the reason why you're at the level that you're at. Maybe you've never taken anything serious. Maybe you never had the discipline. Maybe you never had a coach or someone tell you in your life, hey, don't take the shortcut all the time. You know, you could have been great at this, but you weren't because you used to not, you know, when you're playing basketball and you're supposed to touch the line, maybe you weren't touching the line. Maybe you weren't doing the extra effort. So maybe this was the first time a lot of those guys ever had someone push back on them to tell them, hey, no, you need to touch the line. You need to sit in that seat. You need to sit and get the information. So that's how I took it. And for me, internalizing it, hey, if I got to be a little bit of a jerk because that's not my natural disposition, maybe that's the way I need to be. But it was out of love. Pat was saying it out of love because he wants everybody to achieve the highest level potential that they can. So that's it, man. That's my 6 things that I got from 2024, the Vault Conference, man. I got all my binders here. This is the binder we got this year. This is last year's Vault. We went to SLS conference at Mar-a-Lago as well earlier this year. But man, you could call me an evangelist for valuetainment in the brand, and I probably am because I've gotten so much value out of valuetainment. It's taken me personally to multiple levels higher. It's taken my company to multiple levels higher. So last year, 4 people, this year, 20 plus. Next year, we already got tickets for 20 plus. We are gonna bring 50 people to the Vault Conference next year. Hope you got value at this. Make sure you check out more videos, check out the Freedom Factory. Make sure you check out the Free Factor podcast. Until next time, peace out.